He eased his hand away gradually, as though reluctant to break the spell of a dream. He wasn't ready to leave. I remained perfectly still, my breathing soft and even, the ghost of his warmth still clinging to my skin. The space between us hummed, fragile and alive. My silk robe had loosened, one side sliding down my shoulder, but I made no move to fix it. I wanted the hush to stretch just a little longer before the world pressed in again. Some moments carve themselves so deeply into you that keeping them secret feels impossible. That's why I'm telling you this, because even now years later I carry the weight of that evening not in my body, but somewhere quieter, more lasting. It started as a simple gift of care. At least that's what I let him believe. In truth, it was my way of offering something I couldn't say aloud. Something he hadn't yet learned to ask for. Pause with me for a second before we go further. What I'm about to share isn't really about touch. It's about what lives beneath it. Intention, surrender, and the slow unraveling that happens when someone finally lets themselves be truly seen. The towel was already draped across him when I stepped aside. The room carried the clean bite of eucalyptus laced with something maybe anchoring everything in calm. I smoothed a small fold near his collarbone and murmured, "Just breathe. I'm not going anywhere." He gave the faintest smile, eyes already drifting shut. He'd always been grateful for small, wordless kindnesses that demanded nothing back. I slipped into the shadows as she entered, graceful and self-possessed. Her dark hair was swept into a low knot, her posture effortlessly straight. She spared me the briefest glance before turning her full attention to him. Her hands settled on his shoulders with slow, deliberate pressure, only certain. I watched from the corner of the dimly lit room as the knots in his back began to loosen one by one. It felt surreal, sitting there like a silent witness to something I'd orchestrated, yet barely understood myself. He thought I'd left, that I'd arranged this small luxury, and then given him privacy. He didn't know I'd stayed, tucked just out of his sight, unable to look away. Her movements were fluid, almost ceremonial, each adjustment of weight or angle, speaking its own quiet language of care. He let out a long, slow breath, shoulders dropping further. His fingers twitched once, an unconscious flicker that caught the low light. She paused, voice low and gently teasing, "Still the steadiest hands I know," she said, as if the words were meant more for the room than for him. He didn't open his eyes, but a small line appeared between his brows. Not alarm, just the first stir of recognition, something shifting beneath the surface. She resumed, unhurried, precise. The air itself seemed to thicken with unspoken understanding. When I finally rose, she noticed first. Her gaze flicked to me, waiting. I crossed the room and settled on the low stool beside him close enough that he'd feel the warmth of me. Without needing to see, I rested my hand lightly on his forearm. His breath hitched. His eyes opened, unfocused at first, then found mine. For a long moment, he said nothing. He didn't have to. The realization was settling over him like soft rain. I had never left. I had been here all along, guiding this moment. He still didn't fully grasp. She kept her rhythm, the towel never once slipping. When her eyes met mine again, they asked without words. I gave the smallest nod. He shifted, uncertain, still piecing it together. "Still comfortable?" she asked, voice warm but professional. He nodded almost imperceptibly. "Yes," he said, the word rough from disuse. "I'm good." She smiled, small and knowing, and continued. I stayed where I was, my hand a quiet anchor on his arm. Something wordless passed between the three of us, delicate as breath. Then he looked at me, really looked hand. I saw it. Not confusion, not hesitation, but recognition. Fragile, but unmistakable. She paused once more, glancing at me with calm certainty. "You're sure?" she asked, soft. Enough that it might have been for me alone. I nodded. "This is for him," I said, surprised at how steady my voice sounded. "He needs to remember how to let go." He turned his head toward me, eyes softening. He didn't speak, but the trust was there, raw and unguarded. The rest unfolded in near silence. Her hands moved slower now, meditative, each stroke less about muscle and more about permission. Permission to stop holding everything together, to simply be. I remained beside him, feeling the stillness spread like warm water. Outside, the last of the daylight faded. He was quieter than I'd seen him in months. Truly present. I traced my thumb once along his wrist, just enough to remind him I hadn't moved. His fingers stirred, then settled over mine light, but deliberate enough. She finished with one final pass across his shoulders and stepped back. The air seemed to exhale with her. He opened his eyes slowly, blinking into the low amber light. There was no fog left in them, only clarity, the kind that comes after carrying something heavy for too long. I brushed an errant strand of hair from his forehead. "Better?" I asked quietly. He let out a soft, almost laugh of relief. "Better," he whispered. I didn't realize how much I needed that. My throat tightened. "I know." She gathered her things without a sound. Before she left, she met my eyes and offered a small, understanding smile, the kind that said she'd known exactly what this was from the moment she walked in. When the door clicked shut behind her, he turned his face toward me. His eyes were heaved, but peaceful. "You set this all up," he said, voice low. "I did." He didn't ask why. I answered anyway. "Because you never stop. You give and give until there's nothing left for you. I just wanted you to remember what it feels like to be taken care of." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached for my hand, threaded his fingers through mine, and held on. "Some things don't need words," the silence said.